back where they belong. Thank you for your patience, jurors. Hopefully you got rejuvenated back there. And then you'll hear me keep warning people about a variety of things, and I'll give you some interesting anecdotes about these things, but about not talking about the case. It's so important to us. Over the years, we've had jurors, because hopefully everybody's engaged and paying attention and very interesting to you. But we get two jurors. All right, that guy looks pretty cool. I'm going to talk to him about the case in the bathroom, and we're at the sink and we're washing our hands, and we start talking about the case. That witness was great, and somebody's in the stall. Each one of you have an obligation to come and report to me that somebody else is talking about the case. So that causes me a whole heap of problems. And so I just want to remind you, don't talk about the case, don't Google, Facebook, Twitter, anything at all, researching on your own. I gave you that instruction earlier, but I'll keep reminding everybody because it is that important to us. Okay? All right. State, you may proceed.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Let's move now to the Honda that you were asked to process. Same day, is that correct?
Yes.
And were the same participants there, Detective Hirsch, Detective Sanders, CSI Bryant, and yourself?
Yes.
And did you tell us you processed the BMW first?
Yes.
And then the Honda, is that correct?
Correct.
And is this the Honda that was found on I-95?
Yes.
Right? And I've shown these to the defense. You want to see it? Yes. Show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 44 through 61, asking if you can just look through them and let me know if those are photographs that you've taken that we've selected out of the stack of enormous photos you took.
Yes.
And do those photographs fairly and accurately depict the Honda as you were processing it, as it was being searched and processed?
Yes.
State moved states 44 through 61 into evidence at this
44 through 61, any objection? Admitted.
Same with the BMW. Did you all have a valid search warrant to search and process this car?
Yes.
All right. And let's just go through the same process that we went through with the BMW. I'll put the photographs up, 44, and tell us what this photo depicts.
That's the driver's side.
The colors of this car, the different pictures that we're seeing of it, does the coloring depend on the photography, the lighting, and things of that nature?
The lighting.
Okay. So it looks like it's black here, right?
It looks darker, yes.
Is this the car, though, that was found on I-95?
Yes.
And let's, State's Exhibit 45, read to us off the license plate of the car that you processed, that Honda.
779 PAY.
All right. And as you did with the BMW, did you all go into the glove box?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 46. Did you see registration information?
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a little bit. As well as insurance info?
Yes.
47, a little closer. Was the last name on the registration of that car Henry?
Yes.
Similar to Sean Henry, same last name?
Yes.
And let's move now into the actual car itself. State's Exhibit 48. Tell us what's the vantage point that we're looking here.
That's a photograph of the front passenger seat.
Looking inside from the passenger seat.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 49. What's the vantage point here?
That's a photograph taken from the rear right door, looking inside at the front passenger seat headrest.
We had talked yesterday when we were going through the scene at 1105 Mohawk, we had talked about your training and experience in looking at and identifying what you believe to be blood on different surfaces, correct?
Correct.
Did you see within this Honda car what you believed in your professional opinion to be blood?
Yes.
And go ahead and tell us if this photograph shows some of the areas where you saw what you believe to be blood.
Yes, there's an area on the right side of the headrest.
I think you have the laser pointer still.
Sorry.
That's okay. You could just show us there. What is this little white sticky thing right here, or tag?
That's a scale that we put next to like bullet marks or blood spatter.
Is that for your purposes for photography and identification, that you can kind of mark it so that you know where we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. When you say scale, there's a little measurement thing on there, right?
Correct.
Okay. So was that there in the car when you pulled in, or did you all put that there?
I put that there.
Did you find areas of what you believe to be blood throughout that Honda?
Yes.
Let's go further into the car here. And State's Exhibit 50. Can you tell us some of the items that you found in the back seat of that car?
There's a pillow, a black T-shirt, a black hoodie that zipped up the front.
Okay. Was there a glove back there?
Yes, there was a black glove.
All right. Now show us the items that you have listed out. Can you point to where some of them are?
The pillow and
Pillow behind the driver's seat?
yes,
Okay. Is this right here? It looks like it's a brown pillowcase and a white pillow.
yes.
And what else can we see from this photo?
It's kind of dark. I can't tell.
If you want to come down, if that helps you.
This vantage point, I can't really see anything but the pillow.
Okay. Well, what do you mean the vantage point of where you're sitting?
Where I'm standing to take the photo.
Okay. So we'll have some more and then we can go back.
Yeah.
And if you need to step down a little closer, or you want me to hand you the photo before I put it up there, let me know. Stays 51. Where is this vantage point?
That's at the rear left door,
Okay.
looking into the back seat.
Is this the driver's side?
Yes.
In the picture, though, that we saw on 50, there was a pillow back there. So is this as you all are searching and you're moving items?
Yes.
Okay. This area underneath the pillow, talk to us about that. What did you notice on that scene?
There is a reddish stain that appeared to be blood.
Okay, can you show us with the laser pointer? All in there.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's look at State's Exhibit 54. Tell us about that photo.
This is also a photograph before we moved everything at the rear left door in the back seat, And then this is the pillow. This is the hoodie.
Black hoodie?
Yes. And I think the shirt's underneath. I can't really tell.
Okay, the black shirt
Yes. And the glove.
and the glove, the
Yes.
black glove. So let's just clarify though, even if the pictures don't show it, in the back seat, did you find a pillow,
Yes.
a black hoodie,
Yes.
a black shirt,
Yes.
and a glove?
Yes.
What color glove?
Black.
Black. And did you collect all those items?
Yes.
And did you bag them and notate back seat, front seat, wherever it was you found them?
Yes.
Okay. At the time that you were doing this search, it's the 7th of February, is that correct?
Yes.
Item 53 or photo 53 is just a closer up of that pillow.
Yes.
Now tell us, did you notice any substances on the pillow and on the pillowcase?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
There was red staining all over the pillow and pillowcase.
Did it appear to
Right
be
here.
blood to you?
Yes.
Did you have tests where you can test for blood?
Yes.
And did you do so in that card?
I did.
And tell us where you tested for blood and what your results were.
There was a red stain on the glove box, the headrest, on the seat, on the rear left door.
When you say on the seat, where? Is it the seat underneath the pillow that you saw that area that looked like blood?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. And then you said, what was the last place you said?
The rear left door,
Rear left door.
interior side.
And what were your results when you tested for blood on all those areas?
Positive?
So it was positive for blood?
Yes.
And let me just show, states 58. Is this an illustration of you testing for blood?
Yes.
Kind of hard to see, but what is that? What's this right here?
That's the swab.
Okay, so you swab it, you put a chemical on there,
Yes.
and that's how you test for blood?
Yes.
All right. Did you take some of these swabbings, did you swab those areas and submit it to the DNA crime lab?
Yes.
Did you take several photographs of some of the areas where there was blood?
Yes.
And tell me if you can tell us where this one was, States Exhibit 57.
That is the interior rear left door towards the bottom.
And show us where the area is that you saw what you believe to be blood.
Right here. In here.
And here, 2 areas.
Yes.
So this is the behind the driver's seat, left passenger thing there where the pillow was, correct?
Correct.
And how about, I think you mentioned you saw what you believed or you tested for blood on the glove box, States Exhibit 55. Does that photograph show that?
Yes.
Okay. And we saw earlier on the headrest, in States Exhibit 49, is this what you're talking about, the headrest?
Yes.
And that's the front passenger seat headrest?
Correct.
Did this area test positive for blood?
Yes.
And again, just another illustration, State 61, that is another illustration of an area you tested positive for blood.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at states 197, 194, 197, 194, 195, 196, 194. Take a look at that and let me know if you recognize this exhibit.
Yes.
Is that something you collected from the Honda?
Yes.
And where was it that you collected it from?
The back left seat.
Back left seat, and what is in that bag?
A black T-shirt.
Statements 194 in evidence at this time?
Any objection? Admitted.
Permission to publish at a later time.
Okay. Publish means show you. So what she's asking is she's going to show it to you later.
Showing State's Exhibit 195. What is that?
This is a black T-shirt from the front right seat.
Okay, so you found a few T-shirts in there, is that correct?
Correct.
And this was the black T-shirt, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you, from where?
The front right seat.
Of the Honda, correct?
Correct.
Statements 195 in evidence with
Any-
permission to publish?
Any objection? Admitted. You may publish.
States 196, talk to us about that.
This is the black glove from the back left seat of the Honda.
Okay. Back left seat of the Honda, State admits 196 into evidence.
Admitted.
You have black, and then you have the letter R circled. What does that mean?
Right. It's a right-handed glove.
Okay, right-handed glove from back left seat of Honda. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then tell me about, and I think I admitted that 196 in that. Right in the back. Statement
Any
196.
objection to 196? Admitted.
And then states 197. What's in 197?
A black hooded zip-up sweatshirt, black T-shirt, which actually that's not in there. That was repackaged.
Okay, so tell me, let's just do this. Let's open this bag. You've listed a bunch of items on this master bag, but you actually took them out and repackaged them into separate exhibits. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's look, actually, State moves 197 into evidence at this time.
Any objection? Admitted.
Let's open this up, and I just need you to look in there and tell us what's in this item or exhibit, so we're not confused as to how many T-shirts or gloves you found. And go ahead and do that, and while you're doing that, I'm going to get some gloves and open and with permission to publish State's Exhibit 196, which is labeled glove.
Yes.
I'd have to open the, because it's wrapped in
Go ahead.
butcher paper.
Is that the only item that's in there, the one you just pulled out?
Yes.
Okay, and go ahead and just
This is the hooded sweatshirt.
All right. Is that the only item then that is in State's Exhibit 197?
Yes,
Even though it says black zip-up sweatshirt, black T-shirt, black glove, and you said you repackaged them, but that's what's in there, the black hoodie.
correct.
And where was the black hoodie found?
In the left back seat of the Honda.
Okay, so hold on to that for a moment. And then this black glove we talked about, was that also in the back seat of the Honda?
Yes,
Is this what you found?
yes,
Was it near the hoodie?
yes,
Was it near that pillow with all the blood?
yes.
Let me back this up, and then back to the clerk, 196, and then when you change the glove, we'll just keep that out. If permission to publish the 197 quickly.
Yes.
You see markings from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office on these items? Like here? I mean, you have crime
No,
scene tape.
that's me.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we see some notations or different markings on this. Tell us about that. What are these things that we see? Some of your measurement tags. Did you put these things on your hoodie?
Yes.
And tell us about what they are, why you did that.
Those were areas of red stains that appeared to be blood that I tested and swabbed.
So, where did you swab this black hoodie?
Yes.
Tell us where you swabbed this hoodie.
Can I check my notes? There were multiple spots.
Take your glove. And we have photos of this as well. So I'm going to put this up and then we can talk about it photo-wise.
There were 3 areas on the arms and chest area that I marked with adhesive scales I tested and swabbed. There were, let's see.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to show you some photographs. And that might be more helpful to let us know where you swabbed. Okay?
Okay.
You have your notes with you?
Yes.
Let's look at 72 through 85, look through those and let me know if those are photographs that you took of that black hoodie that you photographed while you were processing that hoodie at Jupiter Police Department.
Yes.
And do those pictures fairly and accurately represent your work of what the item looked like as well as how you processed it?
Yes.
State moves 72 through 85 into evidence at this point?
72 through 85, without objection, admitted.
If you need to step down, let me know. Feel free to do so. And tell me if it's easier, if it's lighter or darker. Tell us what item 72 is.
This is a photograph of the black hoodie.
All right, and go ahead and maybe tell us what you noticed about the black hoodie and where you processed it.
You'll see markings with a metallic silver marker around areas that were stained. I did that so you can see them better or know where the staining was on a dark piece of clothing.
When you say staining, what kind of staining was it?
Reddish staining.
Did you do a test for blood on that?
Yes.
And what were your results?
Positive.
Okay. And are those, we see, if we're looking at the hoodie from the front, it's laid flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 areas, correct?
Yes.
And tell us what you processed and how you did it for DNA on this.
Okay, so I chose different spots on the front and labeled them, and I tested them, and then I swabbed them.
Okay. Items number 7, are those spots represented by the tags on them?
Correct.
And this is item, I'm sorry, exhibit 73. Is this just a close-up of like the arm area where you swabbed?
Yes.
In conjunction with this?
Yes.
Okay. And a little bit closer up of some of the areas, State's Exhibit 75. Does that show the areas that tested positive for blood on this black hoodie?
Yes.
76. Tested positive for blood?
Yes.
Now, did you swab other areas of this black hoodie that weren't areas where there was blood? In other words, did you swab anything up around the neck area, things like that?
I don't think so.
Okay, well,
Let me
show
see.
you State's Exhibit 85. That's okay. Yeah, and if you
Yes.
just refer to your notes, did you swab any other areas other than the blood areas?
That one I could consider bloody because
Oh, okay, my fault. And we'll show State's Exhibit 85. What area is this?
that's the tag inside the hoodie.
And did you swab that area?
Yes.
And did that test positive for blood?
Yes.
Terrible coloring. There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Does that show the blood?
Yes.
Okay. And did you package those swabs up and deliver them to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the pillow. You took the pillow out of the car, correct?
Yes.
I don't have it here, and we didn't bring it. We have it in evidence. We didn't bring it because there's a lot of blood on that pillow, isn't there? Wasn't there?
Yes.
Did you take photographs of it, though?
Yes.
I'm going to show you 177 through 192 pillow photographs. if those fairly and accurately depict that pillow, the pillowcase you found in the car, and show the results that show you, show the item and show you processing it.
Yes.
Okay. State moves State's Exhibit 177 through 192 into evidence at this time.
Admitted.
Let's show State's Exhibit 180. Talk us through this photograph. What are we seeing here?
This is the pillow. And again, like the hoodie, I marked areas where the staining was.
Okay. And how'd you mark it?
With a metallic marker.
And that's like it looks like chalk, sort of, kind of thing.
It's a silver permanent metallic marker.
So all of these areas that you kind of cordoned off, is that areas where you saw what used to be blood?
Yes.
And did you test some of these areas and was it blood?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 178, did you kind of mark the areas 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
And showing State's Exhibit 185, does this show you actually swabbing those areas for the presence of blood?
That's the presumptive test result.
The presumptive. So when you're testing for blood, do you do 2 tests?
No, we do a presumptive and that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So the presumptive means it was positive?
Well, not necessarily. When we send it to the lab, they test it to be certain that it's blood.
And when you say the lab, you mean Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office lab?
Correct.
Okay. Now, the black T-shirt in the back of the Honda. State's Exhibit 67 through 71, black T-shirt, Honda. Look through a few of those photos, let me know if they're fairly and accurately represent the item and some of your processing, or just the item actually.
Yes.
State moves States 67 through 71 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Admitted.
Where you said you found a black T-shirt, where did you find that?
There was one on the front right seat and one on the back left seat.
So we have 2 black T-shirts. Where did you find this one?
I don't know which one it is.
This is at least one of them, though, correct?
Yes.
All right. And State's Exhibit 71. There's a tag on that one, E36.
Yes.
But you found 2 black T-shirts in that car?
Yes.
Did you process both of them?
Yes.
And how did you process them?
I just took swabs of the interior neck area.
And why do you take swabs from the interior neck area?
Because it rubs against the skin. You have better chances of getting DNA from there.
Okay. Where did you say you processed them?
The interior neck. So it would be around the collar.
All right. Did you do both of those T-shirts that way?
Yes.
And did you collect the swabs and send them to the sheriff's office?
Yes.
I have some swabs. We can run through it really quick. But let's look at the black, actually, I have the black shirt and glove found in the back seat of the Honda. And did you and I go through these photos beforehand?
Yes.
And we separated them out. Actually, is this your handwriting?
Yes.
Okay, so black shirt and glove found in the back seat of the Honda, stage 62 through 66. The the one T-shirt that we just showed, well, let me finish this. State's Exhibit 62 through 66, you recognize these photographs?
Yes.
All right, and do these show the glove and the T-shirt found in the back seat of the Honda that you processed?
Yes.
State moves 62 and 66 into evidence at this time.
Any objection?
Since we
66 admitted.
Since you and I pulled these photographs, black shirt from the back seat, could we assume that the photo we saw of the T-shirt just before this was from the front seat?
No, because I separated them, because this one, I took the pictures of the shirt and glove together,
Okay.
and then I took them separately, so I don't know.
All right, but we had two T-shirts that were both processed, right?
Correct.
All right, let's look at this set of photographs. Quickly, State's Exhibit 66. Is that the glove that we saw earlier?
Yes.
And what does State 62 show?
That's the positive presumptive blood test.
That you did, where there was blood on that glove presumptive?
Yes.
63, a little bit closer up, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you swab this glove any other place other than the area where you saw there was blood?
I swabbed the interior,
And what does that mean, the interior?
inside.
Okay, so were you able to tell what the inside and the outside of the glove was?
Yes.
Let's look at that glove again to make sure. Let's find out that glove is done. These gloves have right or left or not?
Which one? These? No.
State's Exhibit 196. Is this the glove that we just saw in the photographs that you processed?
Yes.
Now, how do you know which is the inside or the outside?
This is the inside.
Okay. So it's pretty obvious then from this, correct?
Yes.
The way that I'm showing it now is this, it's not inside out, is it?
No.
Okay. This would be the right side. And then if we turn it inside out, can you kind of tell that that's definitely inside out this way?
Yes.
And so where did you swab this glove?
You want me to show you with it?
Sure. And show the jury.
Right. So inside, I would rub the bottom part of the glove, this part, but inside.
Well, show us, put it inside out.
I didn't turn it inside out when I
Okay,
swabbed it.
good.
I had it on the butcher paper, and I stuck the swab in and rubbed around the inside of the glove,
And why would you swab that area inside the glove?
because that's the part that's rubbing on the skin.
If someone were to wear the gloves the regular way, right?
Yes.
And did you also swab the area where the blood was?
Yes.
Going to show you a series of swabs. through 96, take a look at 96. 97. Well, let's do it one by one. Is that some of the swabs you collected?
Yes.
From where?
The sweatshirt from the Honda.
Okay. State moves 96 into evidence.
Admitted.
Is the sweatshirt different from the hoodie?
No, that's the same.
Okay, so when we say sweatshirt, it means that black hoodie we saw?
Yes.
And states 97, same question, where are those swabs from?
The T-shirt and the glove. The T-shirts and the glove from the Honda.
All right, they're separated though inside there?
Yes.
And state moves, states exhibit 97. Is that correct? State moves 97 in evidence?
Any objection? Admitted.
And just for clarification, inside these bags are these Q-tips that you swabbed, right?
Yes.
The Q-tips.
There's how many is it? There's 4 smaller envelopes with the swabs inside of those.
All right, so within an envelope, there's even smaller envelopes.
Correct.
Did you keep them separately?
Correct.
The swabs separately, I mean?
Yes.
States exhibit 98, what's in there?
Swabs from the Honda. The blood-like substances that I labeled within the Honda, and the interior left front door handle, interior right front door handle, and interior right back door handle.
Okay. Statement states 98 into evidence.
Any objection to 98? Admitted.
99. What's in there?
Swabs from the exterior right and left cuffs. This is from the hooded sweatshirt.
Okay, so you said swabs from the cuffs of the hooded sweatshirt. What does that mean?
Down at the wrist area.
All right, so the black hoodie that we showed, right? So did you swab inside again where someone would be wearing a hoodie?
I did both outside and inside.
Okay.
And that's what's in here. Yeah.
States 99.
Any objection? Admitted.
100. What's in 100?
Okay.
So
Great.
we have 100, 102, and 193 the state would move into evidence.
Admitted.
Thank you.
Without objection.
Okay.
You want me to read what's in it? Or?
No, you just did swabs. No, we can talk about it later if we need to.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, defense. The one I want to go backwards, all the way back to that crime scene at Mohawk, stage 110. Going to take you all the way back to 1105 Mohawk. We talked about how CSI Bryant came and she really kind of concentrated on the projectiles and the casings. Is that correct?
Correct.
While she was doing that, were you assisting her by packaging some of these items?
Yes.
And take a look at 110. Is this some of the projectiles and casings that were found at the scene that you packaged for CSI Bryant?
These were the projectiles.
Projectiles.
Yep.
Okay. And state moves 110 into evidence at this time?
Admitted. Without objection.
One moment, Your Honor. So that day that you processed those, did y'all finish around 7:30 p.m.?
May I check my notes?
Sure.
I'm sorry, processing where? At the scene or
No.
the items that was?
Oh, you're right. The items at Jupiter Police Department.
I didn't put a time when I finished.
Okay. On February 8th, 2017, did you then attend the autopsy of Sean Henry?
Yes,
And we talked, you had collected some of the items from all 3 autopsies, correct?
correct.
Okay. On the 8th of February, did you go back to the scene of 1105 and start assisting CSI Bryant in using metal detectors to see if there were any more projectiles and/or casings?
When I got there, we didn't have enough metal detectors, so we left and came back the next day.
Okay. So you came back on the 9th?
Yes.
Were you given, actually, I'll move on from that. One more moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
I have no further questions at this time. There may come a time when we recall you just for a few tie-ups after a few other witnesses testify.
That's fine.
Thank you.
And cross-examination?
Good morning, ma'am.
Hello.
So, covered a lot of ground in the last 2 days, right?
Yes.
We're up to 180 some exhibits at this point, right?
Yes.
You found a lot of items in this case that have been introduced in evidence in this trial, right?
Yes.
You found ballistics evidence related to firearms, right?
Yes.
You found biological evidence.
Yes.
You found articles of clothing, right?
Yes.
You've searched, thoroughly searched vehicles in this case that were associated, right?
Yes.
Where did you find the masks in this case?
The mask? I didn't find a mask.
I want to go back to when you were initially called on this case. The first place that you went was the address where the decedents were shot, right?
Correct.
And that was 1105 Mohawk.
Yes.
You said yesterday, I believe, that you arrived at 11:54 p.m.
Yes.
There obviously were other officers on scene. They had already secured the crime scene.
Correct.
You were the first crime scene investigator that was on scene.
Yes.
And I believe another crime scene investigator by the name of Teresa Bryant also eventually came to the crime scene, right?
Correct.
Now, you and Miss Bryant were the only 2 CSIs that worked on this case.
We're the only 2 at Jupiter.
Okay. And obviously the 2 of you work kind of as a team as you go through this process, you know, of documenting and collecting and photographing evidence.
Correct.
And so I think, you know, some of the exhibits the state's introduced, you know, they may have actually been collected by Ms. Bryant, but you might have been the one that held the bag over and wrote on the bag, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Sorry, I got that sense that the 2 of you worked in tandem. Sometimes she might locate an item that you would ultimately package and put your initials on.
Oh, yeah.
Right, that's
I'm
that's
misunderstood.
normal.
Sorry.
That's normal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you first arrived at 11:05, it was obviously dark out because this was around midnight, correct?
Yes.
Now, you talked about how you have, I think you said, a take-home van that's equipped with all the accoutrements and tools that you need to do crime scene investigation.
Yes.
You talked about having artificial lighting.
Yes.
You have cameras that are equipped, of course, with flash photography.
Yes.
And that's because oftentimes when you're called to a scene to conduct an investigation, you can't see unless you have those things, right?
Right.
And in this particular case, we saw photographs that were taken from the night that you arrived through to the next day after the sun had already risen, right?
Yes.
And some of those photographs, it's obviously daytime, and others, it's still night, right?
Yes.
And so the pictures that were taken at night, you can see in those pictures because of the flash that's on your camera, correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to show you what's been marked as defense composite 3A and B.
No objection.
You know, defense 3A and B is evidence.
Admitted without objection. 3A and B. 3A and B.
And do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
Okay, and do those photographs sort of accurately, like the rest of the photographs of that residence, sort of depict the way that it looked on that evening and that following day?
Yes.
Okay, and if I could talk to you specifically about 3B, I'm going to put it up here. Now, in 3B, obviously, this depicts the front of the residence, right?
Correct.
And you not only spend a lot of time in the backyard of the residence documenting, but you yourself and Ms. Bryant, you went inside the residence, right?
I only went in to take overall photos. I wasn't doing anything else.
Just asking if you went inside the residence.
Yes.
And so, for example, 3B there, I'm sorry, 3A that's still in front of you, that's a picture of the inside of the residence, right?
Correct.
And you recognize it because you were inside that residence.
Yes.
Now, as you approach the residence and started taking photographs, you can see that you can't see into the windows of the house from the outside, correct?
Correct.
And if you look at fence 3A, and is that a picture of the same window that we were just talking about, taken from the inside?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see that the blinds are lower than that picture, right?
Yes.
And you didn't, raise or lower the blinds or do anything to the contents of this prior to taking these pictures.
No.
And of course, you take pictures of things as they are found when you first get there, right?
Correct.
So before you ever start moving anything, collecting anything, you want to make sure that you have a photograph of exactly where things are, right?
Yes.
And the role that you play as a crime scene investigator, obviously when you sit through a trial like this, you see the importance of that documentation for, obviously, the attorneys, the court, or the jurors, right?
Yes.
Because you weren't meticulous about documenting this thing, you don't know where that stuff is, right?
Right.
Now, the back of the residence, of course, you took probably hundreds of photographs of the back.
Yes.
Right? And now when you went around initially to the back and were taking photographs with the assistance of flash on your camera, there was no additional lighting in the backyard. Right?
No.
So there were no floodlights or spotlights on the rear of the house that illuminated the backyard.
Right.
And, you recall on the, maybe you weren't good on the directions before, but if you're standing behind the house and you're looking at the canal, over your left shoulder, there's a light that's up on the front of that house, right? You recall that?
I don't recall.
You recall that there was no light that was on illuminating that area, correct?
I remember it was dark back there.
Now, the back part of the yard, closer to the canal, the north side of that yard, and I'm talking about the area between the fire pit and the fence in the back.
Okay.
Obviously, you said it's dark. There's no lighting back there, right?
Right. Doesn't appear to be.
And absent flash on the camera, taking pictures to show it back there, correct?
Right.
Mr. Cribble, just keep your voice up. One of the jurors is saying they can't hear.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Now, Ms. McClendon, you talked about how you and Ms. Bryant really went to great lengths to document the firearm-related evidence that was found in the backyard, right?
Correct.
And we saw lots of photographs that showed flags where you had planted those little metal flags with the little orange top on them that kind of marks, hey, there's something there that needs to be documented, right?
Yes.
And I think initially one of your answers may have been that each one of those would represent something that's firearms-related evidence.
Yeah.
And then I think later on we kind of learned that, well, actually those flags not only document firearm-related evidence, but they documented other items that you believed were important enough to collect, right?
Right.
For example, cell phone, right?
Yes.
For example, flip-flops that were found in the backyard.
Yes.
And you also documented what you described as bullet fragments, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And so we talked a little bit about it, and I know you're not a firearms expert per se, but you obviously, by the nature of your work, are familiar with firearms, right?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the types of evidence that might be associated with a shooting case or a case involving firearms, right?
Yes.
So you know that a semi-automatic firearm, for example, when it's fired, it ejects, spits out a shell casing, right?
Yes.
And so you know to look for those, right?
Yes.
And you know that when a gun is fired, it expels a bullet through its barrel, and I think we were calling that a projectile.
Correct.
Just to make sure for the folks that might not know what these terms mean. And then you talked about a fragment, right?
Yes.
And am I correct that a fragment could result when a projectile, the bullet, strikes something and could actually break into multiple pieces?
Correct.
So you're out there searching for shell casings, projectiles, and fragments, right?
Yes.
And you're putting a flag for each one of those things that you find.
Yes.
And so if a bullet's fired from a semi-automatic results in a casing being on the ground,
Yes.
right? Could result in a projectile being located, right?
Yes.
Could also result in fragments of that projectile being located.
Yes.
And so for a single shot from a semi-automatic firearm could result in you having multiple flags down to document shell casing, projectile, and maybe fragments from the projectile. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when we say each of those represents something firearms related, a single shot from a gun could attribute to multiple flags. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you and Miss Bryant took photo after photo after photo to show where each of those casings, projectiles, and fragments were located in the backyard, right?
Yes.
And I think you maybe earlier said that Miss Bryant maybe was a little bit more involved in recovering and documenting the casings, projectiles, and fragments.
Correct.
You were present when that was done?
For the collection, yeah.
For the collection? Not for the search so much?
Not the whole search.
Okay. And the photographs that were taken, photographs that show sort of a close-up view of the base of the fire, you said, hey, look, there's a projectile, or look, there's a shell casing. You and Miss Bryant.
My partner, Miss Bryant.
Okay. Now, one of the things that both you and Miss Bryant also did during the course of this investigation, I believe, was to generate some diagrams. Is that right?
Yes.
This contains deposit 2A through C, and I don't believe the state has any objection.
To A, B, and C, I believe there's no objection. I'll admit those.
Thank you. Do you recognize?
It's not mine.
Okay.
This is my partner, Teresa Bryant's.
And I'm just asking if you recognize it.
Yes.
Okay, and I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that during the course of an investigation of this nature, that you and Ms. Bryant are going to work side by side, right?
Yes.
You're going to be talking about your findings together, right?
Yes.
You're going to be consulting with each other about your work product, your reports, and your diagrams. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's partly so that one of you isn't duplicating the other's work, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to take a wild guess and say that even though Ms. Bryant is the one that actually created this diagram, that she showed it to you before she submitted it to the state attorney's office.
Yes.
Okay. And what about this one, which is defense 2B? That's another diagram?
Yes.
Is that's by you, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. And then defense 2C, it's another diagram there.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to go over what these diagrams show. So I'm going to put them up on the overhead for us. We'll start with defense 2A.
Yes.
Now, could you sort of help orient the jury? I think some of these, this might be kind of a different orientation than the aerial photographs that we looked at before. You could just sort of orientate them. Where's the street, Mohawk?
The street would be up here.
Okay, and this is the carport that you and your fellow investigators probably trooped through over and over again, going back and forth.
Yes.
All right. And obviously this is the pool, and then the canal that abuts the rear of the property would be down here. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you said that Ms. Bryant's the one that actually sort of created this diagram, but you yourself are familiar with it. This diagram would not be what we would call to scale.
Correct.
That just means that some of the dimensions of one thing might not be the correct size relative to the dimensions of another, right?
Correct.
So in other words, this pool might be bigger or smaller relative to the house than it appears on this diagram.
Correct.
And the X's are here. You see there's a, I don't know if the jurors can see this, but there's a blue X here near one of the drawn bodies. And then there's some red X's and then there's some black X's. What's the difference between those?
She made a legend here that explains.
Okay. So am I correct that the blue one here is the indicative of a live round?
Yes.
So the live round is a bullet that's not been fired from the firearm, correct?
Correct.
So the shell casing and the projectile are still intact, and it could be placing the firearm in the fire.
Correct.
And the black X's are shell casing.
Yes.
So those are what are ejected from a semi-automatic firearm when that goes fire, correct?
Correct.
And so the X's on here, these are approximate locations of where the shell casings were found, correct?
Correct.
And am I correct that these three sort of bodies that are placed on here, that the one here that's the verge farthest south, that this would be Ms. Doherty?
Yes. Yes.
This would be Ms. El-Salhy?
Yes.
And this would be Mr. Hickman.
Correct.
And the red X's, these would be, they're described as projectiles, correct?
Correct.
So that would also include what we talked about as bullet weapons, right?
Correct.
And this diagram doesn't tell us of these shell casings, you know, this one's from this caliber or this one's from that caliber, correct?
Correct.
Your photographs, because if you look at them, each of these X's and red and black X's will be marked with a flag in the photographs, right?
Yes.
And then there'd be a picture taken of the base of the
Correct.
And the two are quite easy to differentiate because the 7.62 round, that's a rifle, correct?
Yes.
And that's a larger shell casing than a 40 caliber casing.
Yes.
And it's even easier than that because the 7.62 rounds are actually gray in color, correct?
Yes.
And the 40 caliber casings, they're brass, that bullish stuff, correct?
Yes.
This is the 2B, and it's sort of the same diagram, but it has some different angles on it. And can you tell from your location what's marked on this diagram? It looks like from the legend we have fragments, projectiles, 5 rounds, BLS as blood, gun, and a trace mark. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Now, in this case, there's also some things that were actually in the backyard that, of course, you don't show on this diagram, right?
Yes.
For example, there's 3 trees that are sort of indicated on here. There's actually 4 trees, right?
I don't remember. Yeah.
And there's a kind of a cast concrete planter that's located right here, sort of on where the patio meets the lawn.
Yes.
All right, and that's not indicated on here, correct?
Correct.
Even though I think if you recall, there was actually evidence collected from inside the home.
Yes.
Okay. And to see, in this diagram is sort of closer up on the area surrounding the fire pit. What is shown in the document on this diagram?
Fragments, projectiles, a gun. Looks like a live round.
Okay. And again, it's sort of the closer up view, kind of documenting the general locations of these items of firearms, right?
Correct.
And of course, these are approximate locations.
Yes.
Although in this case, you did, or maybe Ms. Bryant did, take very specific measurements, correct?
Yes.
All right. And kind of walk us through that process of how you take those specific measurements.
She took the measurements.
Okay. Did she use a method that you're familiar with?
I don't know which one she used.
Okay. All right, we can ask her about that. Now, ma'am, I want to go back to 2A again. So we talked about how on this diagram, the diagram itself doesn't specify this is the 40 caliber. This is the 7.62 rifle, right?
Correct.
You spent 15 hours at the property that day,
Approximately.
and participated in sort of the exhaustive documentation collecting each one of these things, correct?
Correct.
And they were measured by Ms. Bryant to give them exact location of where this, that is up, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall from your involvement in investigating, documenting, and seeing which of these is which type of case?
No. She's the one who documented each one.
Now, each of those casings, projectiles and fragments, I think you said that you packaged, submitted into evidence, and then ultimately sent out to the Sheriff's Office Firearms Laboratory.
Correct.
So all of these things, every shell casing, every projectile, every bullet fragment was sent to the firearms lab, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you attended the autopsies of the decedents,
Yes,
And the medical examiners that performed those autopsies recovered projectiles and fragments from the bodies of the decedents, correct?
correct.
And those were all packaged, put into evidence, and sent to the firearms lab, correct?
Correct.
You also had the occasion to take care and custody of projectiles or fragments that were pulled out of this man.
Correct.
And those were packaged in evidence by you in this with the same care that you did with these, correct?
Correct.
And those were documented and memorialized in your reports and property receipts, correct?
Correct.
Those weren't sent to the sheriff's office firearms lab, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that those kinds of judgments about, hey, this particular piece of evidence needs to have further analysis done, whether it's for DNA or for ballistics-related things, that those kinds of judgments aren't really the job of a crime scene investigator?
Correct.
Are those decisions made by the detectives that are involved in the investigation of the case?
Yes.
And sometimes in conjunction with the state attorney's office?
Yes.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were at 1105 Mohawk, you also participated in the execution of a search warrant to actually go inside the residence, right?
I didn't do that.
You didn't go inside the residence?
No. I went inside for overall photographs, which I'm allowed to do without the search warrant. And then once the search warrant was signed, CSI Bryant went in and helped with the search warrant.
Now, during the time that you were inside taking overall photographs, you were able to observe the things that were in plain view, correct?
Yes.
You were able to observe the drug paraphernalia, the firearms that were scattered and placed about the residence, correct?
Yes.
And was it Miss Bryant who was the one who ultimately took custody of those during the search of the residence?
Yes.
And she would be also the one that processed those items once they were brought back to the Jupiter Police Department?
Correct.
So I should ask her about those things?
Yes.
All right. Let's jump to the BMW that you processed. Obviously, you found some documentation in that car.
Yes.
You found a registration for somebody named David Kipper, correct?
If that was the name, I don't remember.
Yeah, right. We saw it. It's in evidence,
Okay.
correct? And, you found some documents of Mr. Vasata's driver's license and debit card in there, correct?
Yes.
And you found a business card in there, didn't you?
Yes. 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 Correct. It appears to be that way.
Do you know what role, if any, Mr. Santos had in renting or lending out automobiles to a jury and other clubs?
I don't know really any details about him.
And you don't know what Mr. Santos' possession, interest, or ownership were involved with that particular vehicle, right?
Right, I don't know anything about him.
Because you're kind of just saying, hey, I'm going to take pictures and documents, collect everything, and I'm kind of going to investigate that.
Correct.
Now, during the course of going through the exhibits today, there were a lot of occasions where you were putting on gloves, right?
Yes.
And these are items of evidence that have already been collected, photographed, packaged, and sometimes even already processed for DNA evidence prior to coming in here.
Correct.
You still use the gloves.
Yes.
Right? Some of those items that you use gloves on haven't been tested for DNA evidence, correct?
Correct.
But you use those gloves because maybe there could be a reason to test them in the future, right?
Yes.
And the items that were placed into evidence, you don't know of those items that you use the gloves with, which have or haven't been compared to DNA profiles from Luke Kasukos.
Correct.
Because that would be a judgment call of the detectives involved in the case, correct?
Yes.
Questions about the Honda automobile that you processed. You found blood at various locations inside the Honda, right?
Correct.
Found blood actually on the vehicle itself.
Yes.
You found blood on some clothing articles that were found inside.
Yes.
There's blood on a pillow.
Yes.
And obviously blood can get on something because a person is bleeding directly onto that object, right?
Correct.
Blood can also get on an item because that item comes into contact with an item that has blood on it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they even have a name in sort of your field for that. That's called trans, right?
Correct.
And so blood from a human being can get on one object and then can transfer onto another object, right?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions for you, ma'am.
Any redirect?
Not at this time.
Okay, so you're going to be excused. Make sure you gather everything up, and then you are subject to recall, though, I believe. And but for now, you are free to go. Watch your step. And State, do you have a quick witness? If you have a quick witness, then let's press forward. Jurors, you okay to press forward? I understand it's fairly quick witness, and then we'll break for lunch. Okay, then let's do it, please. Did you tell the deputy already? Yes. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, good morning. Watch your step here. We've got plugs all over the place. And once you get around this screen here, you're going to raise your right hand right there and face Mr. Clerk. Damien, if you'd swear her in, please. All right, you're going to have a seat right up there. Be careful, there's a tricky step there, and the chair does swivel. The most important thing for me is, though, that you grab that microphone and you get it right where you're speaking into the center of it for me. And you look really ready. Tell me your full name and spell it for the jurors, please.
Nancy Petrucelli, Petrucelli.
Terrific, thank you. State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Morning.
Ms. Petrucelli, what do you do for a living?
I'm a part-time consultant.
Okay, what city do you live in?
Jupiter.
Do you live in a particular neighborhood within the city of Jupiter?
Yes.
What is that neighborhood?
Paseos.
How long have you lived in the Paseos neighborhood?
I lived since 2008. I purchased the home in 2007.
And is this particular neighborhood, a gated community?
No, it is not.
About how many houses would you say are in the community?
325.
How would you describe the interaction between the neighbors?
Paseos is a small community. It's only about 10 blocks, and the 325 homeowners I would describe, we're a fairly closely knit, tight community.
Is there an HOA board within the community?
Yes, it's deed restricted, and there is an HOA.
And is there a property management company that kind of runs the day-to-day operations?
Yes,
Okay. Are you a member of the HOA board?
yes,
And what do you serve as currently?
president.
Back in 2017, specifically February of 2017, were you also on the board?
Correct.
Did you serve as the president then?
Yes.
Being a resident in the community, being on the board, do you oftentimes go throughout the community, whether it's for a walk or a jog or riding your bicycle?
Nearly daily, yes.
Do you oftentimes speak with your neighbors?
Yes, yes, a lot of interaction, yes.
Do you all communicate about what's going on within the neighborhood, or if there's anything maybe out of the ordinary or suspicious?
Yes.
I want to talk to you specifically about February 5th, 2017, Super Bowl Sunday. And I want to go to the Monday following Super Bowl Sunday. Did you wake up that morning to an email from someone living within the community?
Yes.
Who did you receive an email from?
The board's vice president, his name is Brandi El-Salhy, had emailed just the board.
Was it common, or was it, I should say, was it kind of standard or common for board members to email one another if there was an issue that came up that they felt they needed to share?
Yes.
And when you got this email that morning, what was the gist of the email?
It was something to the effect of, it was a crazy night in Paseos last night.
Prior to receiving that email, did you know anything that had happened in the Paseos neighborhood on the night of Super Bowl Sunday, February 5th?
I did not know.
Once you got the email, learned that it had been a crazy night the night before, what did you do?
So I replied back that I would, take a jog or a walk over to this area, this little street called Paseos Way, which is where it was supposedly a crazy night.
And is it common for you to go that way
Yes.
on your daily travels, whether you're walking?
Yes.
Okay. In addition to being a tight-knit community and knowing everyone, are you familiar with cars that frequent the area?
Well, yes, because it's deed restricted, we have very specific parking rules. And so not just me, but many people have eyes open for non-compliant parking and strange cars and cars that seemingly do not belong within Paseos. And so as a board, we have communicated frequently, see something, say something. And so, yeah, that is common.
So you make your way over to, you said it was Paseos Way.
Correct.
And what time of day was it, would you say?
It was definitely right around the lunchtime. I'm going to say around noonish, maybe 12 to 12:30ish.
When you got over there, were there any other neighbors outside?
Yes.
About how many would you say?
A handful.
The other board member you received the email from, was he also present?
He came in his vehicle. He came home for lunch. And as I was standing in the area where he said it was crazy, he came home for lunch and got out of his vehicle.
And you, along with the other neighbors, did you all talk about what had happened the night before?
Yes.
Did you make any observations of that area?
Yes.
What did you see?
Several chalk circles around what I interpreted to be blood stains. And those were, there was one large one, and I remember either Brandon or myself made a comment, I think it was me, that that's an awful lot of blood. It was a very large stain. Those stains were in very close proximity to a vehicle, and it was almost simultaneous that we both said to one another, whose car is this?
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
Yes, it was a BMW.
Do you remember what color it was?
Black.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing the witness States Exhibit 158, 159, and 160. They've been
Okay.
shown to defense. to take a look at these 3 exhibits. Do you recognize these 3 photos?
Yes.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of the Paseos neighborhood and the black BMW that you saw within the Paseos neighborhood?
Yes.
At this time, the state would offer into evidence State's Exhibit 158, 159, and 160.
Any objection? Admitted.
Permission to publish?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, you said that you went over to the area where it was a crazy night, Paseos, and you said there were some other neighbors that were also outside and you all got together. Now, if you can show us in this picture, were you standing on the sidewalk that is shown here in the photograph, or were you on the other side of the street?
I was not on the sidewalk.
Okay.
I was in this area down here.
So kind of in the park where the parking space is.
Correct.
And is that where you and the other neighbors are also standing?
Well, several neighbors were over here
In the street?
in the street. And then when I was there, and then when Brandon came home for lunch, we all sort of, you can't see the street here, but we kind of congregated here.
Okay. Did you ever touch the car?
I did not.
At the point that you realized that this car didn't belong, did you get close to the car, make any other observations of the car?
I walked the back, this side, and then the front. I did not go up on the curb. I just was looking at the vehicle.
And this was not a vehicle you had seen in this in
No, no.
Okay. And when you say you oftentimes walk the neighborhood, how many times a week would you say you do that?
6 to 7.
Okay, so it's almost daily that
Yes.
you walk the neighborhood. Okay. Once you saw this vehicle, knowing that it was not a vehicle belonging to someone in the neighborhood, what steps did you take next?
Well, I knew Brandon had to go back to work, and the property manager was due to come to work because they are part-time at our clubhouse, which is located over here, this area.
And that's off to the right.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
Okay.
So when the property manager arrived, I instructed him to call Jupiter Police because this was not a vehicle anybody had recognized or took ownership of, or any relative or guest, and I asked him to call Jupiter Police and mention it to them because of the blood stains and what had transpired the night before. I said I was going to go grab some lunch at home and I would come back a couple hours.
And did you come back?
I did.
Okay, and what happened when you returned?
When I returned, there were several police vehicles. There might have been a tow truck. I can't recall. There was a van. And I stood by, and then a police officer approached me and asked if I would complete a witness statement as to who I was and how it is that they came to be called.
And this was your only involvement as to this vehicle being parked on that street?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't have any information as to what transpired the night before?
No.
Okay, and you've never met a Christopher Vasata?
No.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
You may. Any cross?
Petrucelli said that Theos is a restricted community that has a homeowners association.
Yes. Deed restricted, yes.
Okay. And as part of the homeowners association, do you have landscapers that are on contract with the association?
Yes.
Okay, so it's one landscaping company that's doing all the lawns.
No. The landscape company for the association does the common property.
Okay, all right. And you said yourself that you walk this neighborhood almost every day?
Yes.
And do you know where there is a footpath that leads over into an area that is in Jupiter Estates?
Yeah, well, there is FPL path that runs parallel to Pennock on the west side of Paseos. If you cross over Tony Penna north, there will ultimately bring you to a wooden bridge that does bring you to Indian River Estates.
Okay, so you'd have to go to the access road first, and then you go to the footpath.
Correct.
Have you ever been along that path?
On the FPL path, yes, not past Tony Penna. I have not crossed over.
Okay. When you came to this location on Monday morning after Super Bowl, were you aware of the shooting that had happened over in Jupiter Estates?
I was not directly aware. There was mention of it in Brandon's email to the board at Monday morning when I saw the email. I had no idea what had gone on.
All right, but you did know that the police had come to this location where the BMW was and that somebody had been injured?
I knew that through Brandon's email, yes.
Okay, so all of that...
That was part of the crazy night at Paseos email,
would
yeah.
raise your suspicions. So did you continue to walk the property in the days after this BMW was discovered?
Yes.
All right, and you were out there for several hours on that day?
No, I left my home in the late morning. I got there probably around noonish. Then when I notified the property manager to contact JPD, I went back home. I came back in the afternoon. So I think I was out maybe a couple of hours, but not specifically there, a couple hours.
And while you were there, though, there were other neighbors from the neighborhoods
Yes.
that were walking around that area.
Yes.
And you said that you sort of have this policy within the homeowners association, close-knit community, see something,
Say something, yes.
Okay. Did you ever see any articles of clothing, like hats, ski masks, gloves, or anything laying around the neighborhood?
No,
Did anyone ever report that to you?
not to me.
Okay. Nothing further.
Any redirect? All right, you may step down, watch your step, and going through the courtroom, watch your step. And jurors, so we'll take a lunch break, and I'm going to shorten it a little bit. Make sure the deputy finds your refrigerated lunches. Everybody has to leave the area up here, so people can't sit and have their lunch in the jury room unless we're doing it all together. So today, there's a coffee shop downstairs with a big open area for you to sit, or somebody wants to get air. And then I think all of you are familiar at this juncture, been with me so many days. If you go to Clematis Street, there's all sorts of restaurants. And I'm going to tell you all, it is now 11:58. If I ask you to be back at 1:10, so it's an hour and 10 minutes, and if you're running a little late, somebody's late bringing you the check or paying, relax. They have to be back at 1:10. If you're here at 1:15, we'll be here waiting for you. Do not stress out. Eat your lunch. You'll be all right. And then when you get back, if somebody tells me, Judge, we need a little more time, tomorrow I'll give you a little more time. I've had juries tell me, Judge, you're giving us too much time. So we'll just kind of play it like that. So have a great lunch. Turn your pads upside down in your chairs. Don't talk about the case. Don't research Google, Facebook, Twitter. Watch your step coming out of the jury box. They'll escort you through the back, and I'll see you back around 1:10. And Ms. Crespo, this morning I think you came right up here and you didn't sign in downstairs. So on your way out, just go down there, check, just sign your name in so you make sure you get credit, okay? All right, thank you. Watch your step, guys.